Hi there, welcome to this video where we will be completing the May 2020 ICT theory paper. Okay, in the below video description, you will find the link to download this paper and also details on how you can contact me if you have any questions. Okay, let's get started then. So we come down to the first question over here. So over here, it talks about Sachini and Ashan have two children, Kasuni and Deshan. They use digital devices in their daily lives. Okay. So it goes on. The first question is Sachini shops online for a new laptop. Okay. Give two advantages of shopping online rather than on the high street. On the high street, they are referring to physical stores. So they're asking two advantages of shopping online rather than going to a physical store and purchasing. Okay. So the first thing that we can talk about is convenience. Now, you can, of course, just say convenience. That would be a vague answer. Instead, you can talk about the fact that Sachini will not have to travel all the way to a store. Okay, she can simply browse online stores from her laptop in her house while she is at home. Okay, so let's get that down. You can say Sachini will not have to spend time traveling to a store. Instead, she can shop online from the convenience of her house. Okay. Okay, so first thing that we're talking about is convenience, the fact that she will not have to travel. Okay, instead she can very conveniently shop from home. Okay, while she's comfortably seated on a sofa, maybe she can shop from home. She will not have to travel all the way to the store. Okay, another advantage that we can talk about. Another advantage we can talk about is the fact that when it comes to online shopping, stores are available or accessible 24/7. You're not restricted to a specific time. Now, when it comes to a physical store, they would have opening and closing times, but this issue is not there when it comes to an online store. So we can talk about that as well. We can say she can shop at a time that is convenient for her, as online stores are accessible 24/7. Okay, 24/7 meaning 24 hours, 7 days a week. Okay, now they have asked only for two, but I'm just going to explain a few more. Okay, you can talk about the fact that she can save on traveling cost. Okay, do not say there will be no traveling cost, because if she intends to purchase, she'll have to consider delivery fee. So instead, go on to say she can save on traveling cost. Okay, something else that you can talk about is when you shop online, she will have access to a much larger range, because a physical store will only be able to show what they can accommodate in that space. But when she shops online, the store will be able to show all the options, options that are even in their warehouse, options that they have not even got down yet, because they are not limited to physical space. Okay. So when it comes to an online store, she will have a wider choice to choose from, or a wider range to choose from. Then you can talk about the fact when she's shopping online, she can compare prices with multiple websites as well. Okay, so you can mention these points as well, but remember, limit your answer to two advantages only. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of the first question, and now we are moving on to the second question. Okay, so over here it asks you which one of these uses magnetic media. Okay, so over here the answer is going to be hard disk. Okay, hard disk uses magnetic media. Now, when we talk about media, a little later on, I'll give you a definition of what does media mean, what does storage device mean, what's the difference between the two. But just to give you a quick quick definition of it, media, this word media refers to the technology that is being used. Okay, so when we are talking about magnetic technology, okay, magnetic technology is being used by a hard disk. Okay, so our answer over here would be hard disk. Okay, answer C, hard disk. Okay, looking at solid state disk. Now, for example, if you talk about a solid state disk or solid state drive, SSD, the media it uses is flash memory. That's the technology it uses. Okay. Then if you talk about a flash disk, it also uses what do you call flash memory. If you look at optical disc, it uses optical disc refers to CD, DVD, Blu-ray. So optical disc also uses optical media. Okay, so the answer over here, since they have asked about magnetic media, our answer will be hard disk. Okay, right. Moving on to the next question, part C of question number 1. Sachini cannot access Wi-Fi. Name one type of mobile phone connectivity that Sachini could use to access the internet. So they're talking about a mobile phone connectivity. Okay, so there are options such as 3G, 4G. Okay, you can mention any one of these. Okay, so the G stands for generation. So third generation mobile phone connectivity or internet access connectivity, you can say. Okay, so 3G or 4G would be fine. Okay, right. The next question, it says the amount of RAM in a computer can be increased. Yes, your RAM, you can upgrade it. Okay. Explain one benefit to the user of increasing the amount of RAM. Okay. So they're asking you for the benefit over here, and they're asking you later on to give an explanation as well. So they're giving you 1 mark for the benefit and 2 marks for the explanation. So one major benefit of increasing the capacity of your RAM is the fact that now you see in your computer, when you have programs running in the background, it is the RAM that is holding these programs temporarily. The moment you close that program, it is removed from the RAM. When you open a new program, it is put into the RAM. Is it clear? So the larger the RAM, the more programs you can have running in the background. Okay. So you can say the larger the capacity of the RAM, the more programs, or you can even say software, the more programs the user can have running in the background. Okay. The larger the capacity of the RAM, the more programs the user can have running in the background. Okay. Right. I think I have already explained it over here, but doesn't matter. Let's give a bit explanation over here as well. Okay, so what we intend to say is we can say the RAM. Let me first explain it to you all and then I'll type my answer over here. So like I was telling you previously, guys, when you open a program in your computer, your RAM is holding it for you. Is it clear? Say, for example, you have a program called Photoshop in your computer. So right now, Photoshop is in your secondary storage device, which might be your hard disk or your SSD. So right now it is stored over there. Now, when you open Photoshop and you're working on Photoshop right now, it is brought into your RAM. Is it clear? When you open up Photoshop and right now you're working on it, it is held in your RAM. When you close Photoshop, it is taken out of your RAM. Okay. So whatever programs you have open in your computer right now. So right now you might have, I don't know, maybe Google Chrome is opened. You might have Microsoft Word opened. You might have, other programs opened in your computer. So right now, whatever program you have opened in your computer, whatever apps you have opened in your smartphone, they are being held in your device's RAM. Okay, so the larger the RAM, the larger the capacity of the RAM, the higher or the more programs you can have running in the background. When you have a small capacity of RAM, when you open 2-3 programs, you will notice the device becoming very slow. The device is getting stuck. Okay, so let's explain this over here. You can say the RAM is responsible for holding programs that are running in the background or being used by the user. So the larger the capacity of the RAM, the higher, or you can say the larger the capacity of the RAM, the larger the capacity of the RAM, so when you have a large capacity of RAM, you can even say like this: when the capacity of the RAM is large, the user can have large programs running. Okay, now for example, certain games, okay, certain games, they require minimum 4 GB RAM, minimum 8 GB RAM, because this game is going to be requiring a huge number of instructions. Okay, so it requires you to have a large RAM where you can hold the instructions ready for the processor. Is it clear? So you can even talk it that way. Instead of saying having multiple programs, you can say heavy programs can run smoothly when a large amount of RAM or large capacity of RAM is available. Okay, right. Let's move on then. Let's move on to the next question. Also, there is another benefit of having a large amount of RAM. Now, they have asked you only for one benefit, so I have given you one. You see, guys, when you, for example, open Photoshop in your computer, when you double click on Photoshop, now Photoshop has to be taken from the secondary storage device and given to your processor for processing, because now data has to be converted into information. Right now, Photoshop is there in your storage device, in your hard disk, in the form of data. It has to now become information so that you can understand it and use it. Now, in order for data to go from your hard disk to your processor, I'm repeating myself again, in order for data to go from your hard disk to your processor, it goes through your RAM. Okay, the files are given to the RAM and the RAM gives it to your processor. So if you have a small RAM, if you have say a 1 GB RAM, it may not be able to collect the entire Photoshop file and give it to the processor. You get it? So when you have a small capacity of RAM or when you have a small size RAM, what's going to happen is going to take a longer time for programs to open. Okay, think of the RAM as a tray. When you have a small tray, there are fewer items you can put on it. When you have a bigger tray, there are more items you can put on it. Okay, so once again, let me just quickly go through this. So when you open programs in your computer, it is taken from the hard disk, given to the RAM. From the RAM, it is given to the processor for processing. So when you have a big RAM, okay, you have a 8 GB RAM, a 16 GB RAM, the entire program can be taken in one shot and given to the processor because there's enough space. But when you have a small RAM, in one shot, it cannot take the entire program. It may have to take maybe half the program, then come back again for the other half. So it's going to take time for the program to open up. Okay. You can even write that answer. I hope it's clear enough. Okay, right. So let's move on to the next question. Over here, they're talking about one characteristic of RAM is that it can be increased. Okay, describe how two other characteristics of RAM and ROM, random access memory and read-only memory, affect their use. Okay, so we are supposed to describe it. Okay, so let me get a text box over here. So one characteristic has already been given. It is that the RAM can be increased. You can upgrade your RAM. You have a 4 GB RAM, you can upgrade it to 8 GB. But remember, guys, this is not in all devices. Okay, for example, smartphones, you may not be able to upgrade your RAM. In tabs, you will not be able to upgrade your RAM. But in desktops, it would be possible. In certain laptops, it would be possible. Okay, but generally speaking, the capacity of the RAM can be upgraded, while ROM, you can never upgrade it. So two other characteristics of RAM and ROM and how they affect their use. Something else you can talk about is the fact that the RAM is volatile. Volatile as in once the power is taken off, once the device is shut down, okay, whatever data is there in your RAM gets deleted, gets taken away, is erased, is lost. But whatever is there in the ROM remains. Okay, it does not get deleted, does not get erased, which is why, guys, right, say for example, right now, you have 4-5 programs open in your computer. You have Word open, you have Chrome open, you have Photoshop open, you have VLC Media Player open, say for example, and then suddenly there's a power cut at home and your desktop just switches off. Okay, now when you switch on your desktop again, it starts from the beginning, because when your desktop went off, whatever was in the RAM, all 4 programs that were in the RAM, when your power went off, they were removed from the RAM because the RAM is volatile. Okay, once the power is taken off, everything in the RAM is deleted, erased, lost. Is it clear? But this does not happen in the ROM. Whatever data is there in the ROM will remain even when the power goes off. Okay, so let's put that over here. You can say the RAM is volatile, which means that it loses all its data once the power is switched off. But the ROM is non-volatile, so it does not lose any its data. Is it clear? So we have described one characteristic and how it works. Okay. Right. Another characteristic that we can talk about between RAM and ROM is their memory capacity. You see, the RAM will generally have more than 1 GB of memory. Definitely more than 1 GB of memory, because the RAM is handling multiple programs. You get it? Your RAM is handling multiple programs, your operating system, and then whatever other software you're using, it's handling. So it will definitely be more than 1 GB. But your ROM is dealing with only one program, and that program is called BIOS. Okay, and this program is solely responsible for getting your device started up. That's it. Okay, so typically speaking, the memory capacity of your ROM is very much more smaller than RAM. Okay, and then you also have to be able to describe why. Okay, so let me put my answer over here. You can say the ROM chip has a much smaller memory capacity as it has only one program called BIOS, while the RAM has a much higher memory capacity as it has to hold multiple programs that are running on the user's device. Okay, this is what we are talking about. Okay, so the second characteristic that we have spoken about is the memory capacity size. Okay, so these two, they have asked for two. Describe how two other characteristics of RAM and ROM affect their use. Okay. One more thing that you can also talk about is the fact is, if you look, RAM is random access memory. Okay, so data in the RAM is swapped continuously, meaning you open a program, it is added to the RAM. You close a program, it is taken out of the RAM. Again, you open another program, it is added to the RAM. You close a program, it is taken out of the RAM. Data is continuously swapped in the RAM. But this doesn't happen in the ROM. In the ROM, you have only one program that is running, and that's called BIOS. It's never swapped. It's never taken out or put back in. That never happens. But in the RAM, like I told you earlier, programs are swapped. Data is swapped in the RAM. When you open a program, it's added to the RAM. When you close the program, it is taken out of the RAM. So you can also you can also use that as well. Okay. So moving on to the next one. Over here, it says Sachini chooses to recycle her old laptop. Describe two ways in which the improper disposal of digital devices could be harmful to human health. Okay, so we're talking about digital devices, and by not properly getting rid of them, by not properly disposing them, they're asking what kind of harm can it have to the human health. Okay, so you see, digital devices, they all come with batteries. Okay, they come with batteries, and these batteries contain chemicals inside it. Okay, so sometimes, say for example, you're using a smartphone and the smartphone is no longer working. Okay, you're unable to repair it as well. So normally what some people might do is go and put that smartphone into the dustbin. Okay, now from the dustbin it is taken, and this dirt will be taken by the garbage cleaners or whatever you call them. They take it and they go and dump it somewhere else. Okay, now sometimes this garbage is burnt. Okay, the garbage that you dispose, for example, it gets burnt. Okay, now if you have a battery inside it, okay, if you have a battery inside it and you have these chemicals also inside the battery, and then this is burnt, it can have some severe reactions. Okay, because that chemical coming in contact with fire can have a dangerous reaction. It may cause an explosion, or for example, the gases that it starts emitting might be harmful for humans to inhale. So people who are living around those areas, they are going to be severely affected by this. Yeah. Okay, so let me first get down my answer. Let's get down the answer. You can say digital, you can say batteries in digital devices, if not disposed properly and are simply put into the waste, can end up getting burned, can end up getting burned along with the other rubbish. Okay, since there are chemicals in the battery, these chemicals may not react well with burning and may emit harmful gases that may affect humans, that may affect the human breathing system. Okay, so we can talk about this. Okay, so you put it in the dustbin because you have no use for it anymore. You put it in the dustbin or the waste paper basket, whatever it is. Now from your house or from your office or from your whatever area it is collected, and they go and dump it somewhere else. And sometimes what they do is they burn the garbage. Now, when they burn the garbage, what happens is when the fire comes in contact with this battery, it may explode. You can talk about the explosion that might take place, or you can say it may burn and then this chemical releases toxic gases. These toxic gases can be very harmful for the human breathing system. Okay, right. Let's talk about another problem because we have to describe two ways in which the improper disposal of digital devices could be harmful to human health. We can also talk about the fact that these digital devices, okay, again, we can talk about the what do you call this, the battery in it. Okay, the battery in it, if it is just disposed, if it is just thrown out into the soil, into the garden, for example, this battery after some time, okay, if it's not being used, you may have seen certain batteries, they start to get kind of puffed up. Okay, and then what happens is they burst and then the chemical starts leaking. The chemical that was there in the battery starts leaking. Now when this starts leaking, it starts affecting the soil. When it affects the soil, it starts affecting the plants. When it affects the plants, it affects the animals that live on those plants. So do you see the harm that is taking place over here? So you can say improper disposal of digital devices, okay, can cause these devices to leak harmful substances into the soil. Okay, so you just throw it out. Okay, for example, you just throw it out. Okay, you have no more use for it, you just throw it out. Okay, and say for example it lands in you have thrown it into a garden, you have thrown it into a place where trees are growing, for example, then we have the following problem. Okay, can cause these devices to leak harmful substance into soil. This uh, this will affect the soil, which will then affect the trees that grow on the soil and and then in turn affect the animals that live, what do you say, live on these trees or live off these trees. Okay, I'm not talking only about birds coming and living, I'm also talking about certain trees, they bear fruits and you get animals coming and having those fruits, okay, that live off these trees. Okay, so you can see these are two problems that you can talk about. Okay. Okay, moving on to the next part. Okay, our next question over here, it says, which one of these is a type of storage media? Now, before we answer this question, I want you all to understand there are two words. You have storage device and you have storage media. So I'm going to give you an explanation of the two on this notepad over here. I just have the explanation over here. Let me just quickly get it across for you. Right. Okay. So over here, every storage device comes with a storage media in it. Okay. The storage media stores the data. Okay. While the storage device has the storage media inside it. Okay. Are we clear with this? The storage device, okay, it has the storage media inside it. Okay. So let's give an example. Let's talk about a pen drive. So flash memory is the media. Flash memory is the technology that is being used, okay, as data is saved to the flash memory. Flash memory is placed inside a storage device called the pen drive. Is it clear? So storage device is called the pen drive. What technology is the pen drive using to store data? It uses flash memory. So flash memory is the media. Are we clear, guys? Okay, so for example, if you think about a CD is the storage device. Okay, what technology is a CD using to store the data? It uses optical media, isn't it? So you can say for a CD, for a storage device called a CD, the storage media that is used is optical disc or optical media. Are we clear, guys? Okay, so when we come over here, they're asking which one of these is a type of storage media. Our answer is going to be magnetic tape. Okay, let me first put the answer and then explain. Magnetic tape. Okay, because magnetic tape is a type of technology. Okay, hence we have the answer storage media. So magnetic tapes are used in magnetic discs. Is it clear? Magnetic tapes, we use it in magnetic discs. Now, storage CD drive is a storage device. A CD drive is a storage device. RAM is a storage device. SSD is a storage device. Coming back again, SSD is a storage device. The storage media it uses is flash memory. So you have an SSD, okay? Inside that SSD, you have a technology that is being used. That technology is known as flash memory. Is it clear? So you have a RAM, you have a RAM chip. A RAM chip is a storage device. Inside the RAM chip, you have a technology that is being used. That technology is known as flash memory. Okay, you have a CD drive. A CD drive is simply a storage device. What technology is a CD drive using? It's using something known as optical media or optical disc. Okay, so those optics is what we refer to as the storage media. Okay, so I hope that explanation was clear enough. Okay, so every storage device comes with a storage media inside it. Okay, right. Moving on to the next question. So over here it says the laptop can store 128 gigabytes of data. Construct an expression to show how many bits are in 120 gigabytes. Okay. So you know when we see GIB, we immediately know that this is the binary number system. Okay, so we have two ways of measuring computers' memory. You have the decimal number system and you have the binary number system. So when it comes to now here they're using the binary number system. So 128 gigabytes. So from gigabytes, we have to go one step down. Okay, so GB is a big unit. From a big unit, we are going to a smaller unit. Look, from gigabytes, we are going to bits. So when you go from a big unit, okay, from a big unit, when you go down to a small unit, you have to keep multiplying them. Okay, so from gigabytes, the next unit that we have is megabyte. So we multiply by 1024. Okay, sorry, my bad. We multiply by 1024. From gigabyte, we moved on to megabyte. Okay. Then from megabyte, the next unit that we have below megabyte is kilobyte. So again, another 1024 kilobyte. Okay. Then from kilobyte, the next unit below kilobyte that we have is bytes. Okay. So 1024 bytes. Okay. Then from bytes, the next unit that we have is bits. Okay. So from bytes to bits, it's only 8. It's not 1024. It's 8. So we say 8 bits. Okay. So they have asked you to put a expression. So you can write it like 128 times 1024 to the power of 3 times 8. Okay. You do not need to calculate the full thing. You can simply write it like this. Okay. This is to the power. Okay. To the power of 3. Okay. Right. Moving on to the last question of question number 1. Okay. Over here, it asks us, some people cannot go online because of their religious beliefs. Okay. List 2 other causes of unequal access to ICT. Okay. So some people cannot use the internet because they have certain religious beliefs that, the internet is not good to use and, various other things. So they're asking what are 2 other causes that make people not access the internet, not access ICT. So one factor can definitely be the cost. Some people simply cannot afford it. Okay, so you can say cost. Some people cannot afford it. Okay, so one can be cost. Another problem that can also be sometimes certain countries do not give access to ICT devices, do not give access to the internet. Certain countries, you get the government blocking it, not allowing these items to be imported into the country, not allowing people to use social media. So this can be another factor that, makes people not so interested in using ICT. So you can say politics or governments, or basically politics restricting users in accessing ICT. Okay, so politics, government, that's the same thing. They have asked only for two, but you can also go on to talk about maybe lack of education. Okay, some people simply do not know how to use it. Okay, then you can talk about lack of infrastructure. For example, there are people living in certain areas where, for example, internet signals are not available, electricity is not available. So then it's a problem of infrastructure. Lack of infrastructure prevents them from making use of ICT. Okay. So with that, we have come to the end of question number 1. In our next video, we'll move on to question number 2. See you in the next video.